Hello everyone. Today's poem is 左迁至蓝关示侄孙湘 by Han Yu. Han Yu, probably the most great writer and poet in the Mid-Tang period, which means he was born several years later after the Civil War. So it looks like the peace again, but everything is declining and the political is in such a chaos, so many political parties, and the emperor lost the power as well, so the political is always in a chaos or in a very sensitive, balanced situation. Han Yu, like the normal people who has a political pursuit, he went to the imperial exam, and it's the fourth time that he passed the imperial exam and get a position in the central government in the capital city, Chang'an. Han Yu was among the few poets or writers in the Chinese history that who is distinguished by the styling or creativity of the a type of poem or a type of articles. So Han Yu's achievement is he summoned a campaign for the classic articles, 古文运动. So basically, in the surface, right at the ancient people, but in the real sense, it means people should talk strictly and talk to the point, because at that time, the writers or the poet, when they write poem articles, whatever, especially for the government affairs, they write, the wording is so beautiful, sophisticated, and complicated, but there's not much meaningful things in such beautiful poet or articles. So Han Yu saw the problem. That's not all. He has the courage to point out this problem to everyone. Actually, most of people know that. But as the average people, you had to follow the trend. Only the very few outstanding people can against the trend. So Han Yu was one, and he was treated as the top writers among the writers of the Tang dynasty and the Song dynasty. So in China, we have 8 very famous writers in the Tang dynasty and Song dynasty.唐宋八大家. Han Yu was the top one. And Han Yu was quite famous for his articles. Not so famous, his poet was not so famous as his articles, but his poet still is remarkable because of his characteristics and the trend he's leading to talk the things clearly, to talk the things directly, talk meaningful things. So that's his article, and also that's his poem. Besides very focused on the content of the article or the poems, he also lead a trend to use very strange, very rare, very unique wordings for the poem and for the articles, because at the time being, the poem or the articles, the most of the wordings is quite too popular. So the meaningful words is repeated, used in different poets, in different writers, even in different generations. So when you read a new poems, there's always something familiar to you because of the wordings. So Han Yu also want to be creative. He wants everything to be new, but with a very solid, very meaningful content. Okay, that's about poet or writer Han Yu. Now let's look at this very straightforward poems, and luckily the wording is simple and popular, and I guess that's the reason this poem become very popular. If the wording is so rare, so strange, it's hard for people to read or understand. This is a very straightforward and simple poem by Han Yu. 左迁至蓝关示侄孙湘，韩愈。一风朝奏九重天，西贬潮州路8000。欲为圣明除弊事，肯将衰朽惜残年。云横秦岭家何在？雪拥蓝关马不前。知如远来应有意，好收五谷丈江边。Though the wording is quite simple, straightforward, the surface meaning, I should say, could be understood by an average middle school student in China. So, really straightforward. The title 左迁至蓝关示侄孙湘. So 左迁 is a special term used to describe the officer was downgraded. 蓝关 is a place name. It was the name for a blockade castle near the capital city, Chang'an, or today's Xi'an city. So that's a very key blockade castle. If the people is leaving the capital to the southeast direction, this is the blockade castle he had to pass by. So when the people is leaving the capital city of the Chang'an city in the Tang time, this place is very likely to be the place to say farewell, or he write some remarkable poet or articles to memorize this trip to the southeast. 示侄孙湘. 示 is to show the article, to show the poem to someone. 侄孙 is the grand cousin. Xiang is the name of his grand cousin. So the title tells the thing is the Han Yu himself was downgraded, so he was going to the southeast direction, passing the blockade castle of Languan. The Languan name is very beautiful in Chinese, the Blue Gateway. So it's a very beautiful name. He's getting to this place, and he meet his grand cousin. His name is Han Xiang. So the family name is same. They both has the family name Han, and the given name is Xiang. So his grand cousin's name is Han Xiang. And the Shi means he's getting here and he see his grand cousin, and he write this poem for his grand cousin Han Xiang. And we will have a very little interesting story for Han Xiang as well. Because I was born in Xi'an city, so I know a lot of the local stuff in Xi'an. And this poem and also Han Xiang still has a very strong relationship with today's Xi'an city. Let's see. Okay, I will brief the poem, its meaning very briefly, and there's too much metaphors, quotations, or double referring things. Nothing. very straightforward. That the style Han Yu was going for. 一封朝奏九重天，西贬潮州路八千. So in the morning, I sent a paper to the emperor. 九重天 means the emperor, so as an alternative name for the emperor. Because the Chinese believe the heaven has 9 layers. The emperor is on the top layers, on the cloud 9. So 九重天 refers to the emperor, but everybody knows that. And at the dusk time, I was downgraded. Bian means downgraded, same as 左迁. 西贬潮州路八千. Chaozhou is a city or a region's name in today's Fujian province. In Tang dynasty, it's almost most remote place for the Tang people. So it looks like it's not so far away in today's world, but the road to Chaozhou is the most difficult and the most time-consuming. So that makes in the people's mind, of a Tang people's mind, that's the most remote place. For example, there's a big mountains. If you look at the map, the people in the two sides of that mountain, the distance not very quite near. But if the mountain is very high, the people is hardly can climb up and go over that mountain. So that will be a very remote place for the both side of the people. So Chaozhou looks like a little bit remote, but actually in the Tang people's mindset, it's the most remote. We will read that meaning in the later sentences. So the road length is 8,000 miles. So roughly in today's measure is roughly less than 4,000 kilometers. So the first 2 sentences is quite with very huge contrast. In the morning, I write a paper, an article to my emperor, and in the dusk time, the emperor downgraded me to the most remote places of Chaozhou city, and it takes 8,000 miles to go. 欲为圣明除弊事，肯将衰朽惜残年. So the third and fourth sentence mean write his intent. He write this article is for the sake of the emperor, for the sake of the country, to remove some of the bad things. 弊事 the bad things. And 肯将衰朽惜残年. So even I was so old, I still devote myself to the country, to the emperor, by writing that articles. 衰朽 means is dying, is get aging. And this year, Han Yu, when he writing this poem, he was in the age of 51. So in a normal sense, it's a little bit old, but not old enough. But because his characteristics, he talks straight. The article is about condemning under Buddhism and Taoism, and he want the emperor to abolish all the Buddhism and the Taoism, the religious things, because he think that's not good for the country. And specifically, this article is toward an event. The emperor will go to a Buddhist temple in the west of the Chang'an city. and the temple is still there, a quite famous temple, 法门寺. So 法门寺, this poem is very closely related to 法门寺. The emperor wanted to go to the temple and to escort the bone of Buddha in that temple and back to the capital city and do some of the grand ceremonies. And then the emperor will return the bone of Buddha to that temple and let the temple keep the bone of the Buddha as usual. So normal, that's the procedure. And Han Yu write that article in the morning to persuade emperor not doing that. Not only do not do that, he asked emperor to make a ban on the Buddhism believing and Taoism believing. So basically all the religious things. And so if you went to the temple 法门寺, you can read this poem again. It's still related with today's Xi'an city. 云横秦岭家何在，雪拥蓝关马不前. So the blue blockage castle, the 蓝关, actually is at the foot of the Qinling, the South Mountain. So South Mountain has two terms. Qinling means the big mountains of the Qin dynasty or the Qin place. And South Mountain, Nanshan, is refers to the same mountain, but it uses a different aspect because the mountain is to the south of the capital city of Chang'an. So you will see these two terms will used sometimes here, sometimes there. So he was at the blockage castle of Languan, and he saw the huge mountains ahead. And the Harry, in the morning, he sent the paper to the emperor, and at the dusk time, he was downgraded and sent away to the remote place. So at that time, his wife, his kids, still in the capital city, Chang'an city, and he don't know how to deal with his wives, and he don't know where they would be. But actually, finally, his wife and kids was sent to Chaozhou afterwards. But at the moment, he has no idea. He's just worried about his family. So if we dig a little bit more, in the Chinese mind, the home and the country is equivalent. So in the modern Mandarin, we call country as 国家. 国 is always the meaning of country. 家 is home. So that's the modern. 国家 is the country, we call it. So here he's wondering, where is my home? The first meaning, of course, his own home, his wife, his kids. The second meaning, where is my country? Because he devoted all his heart, his life to the country, and the country abandoned him to the most remote savage place of Chaozhou. And so he has to wonder, where is my home? Where is my country? They don't recognize me. Or he didn't recognize his country, treat him as its own kids. 雪拥蓝关马不前. Okay, that's very straightforward. That's in the winter's time. It's snow. So around the blockage castle of Languan, the blue blockage castle is all of snows. The snow is surrounded the blocked castles, and that makes the heavy snow that makes my horse didn't go further because of heavy snows. And this also expresses feelings. He don't want to go to the remote, a bit savage place in Chaozhou. So that's basically what he's expressing. Everything's very clear compared to the classic Chinese poem. That's pretty straightforward and clear. 知如远来应有意. 如 is the ancient term as 你, so you. The you is his grand cousin, Han Xiang. So I know you're coming here from a distance. Here you have your thoughts or you have your heart, because he know his grand cousin is so care of you, and he want to take care of him because he was in the age of 51 and he was going to a very wild place, very remote place. 好收五谷，丈江边. So this point out why his grand cousin here come here, or he guessed out. You come here and going with me to the remote place, to the very wild place of Chaozhou, so you can collect my bones at the very poor riverside. 丈江, Zhang is the term in the ancient Chinese to describe in the southern China the very wet atmosphere contains something bad to humans, so it will make the people illness or dead. So that was called 瘴. So that's something bad in the southern China white atmospheres. So here 好收五谷丈江边 means 丈江边 refers to the place where he was sent to. So that was Chaozhou. So in his mind, that place is South China. The wet atmosphere contains a lot of the 瘴, the very bad substance will make people ill or dead. So he supposed there's no chance for himself to come back again. So he will most probably will die there, and his grand cousin will collect his bone and send his carcass back to his hometown or to his families. So very funnily, actually he just stayed there for 1 year and he returned to the capital city of Chang'an, and finally he died in the city of Chang'an city. And this also reflects he was so focused on the political things, and the political is so complicated, or he don't quite fully understand the political things. And with the last sentence, he suppose it's sort of the 生离死别. So the departure is sort of the farewell, like the death, because he thought he would never come back again. So that's normally the Tang people thought. If the friends or relatives go to a very remote place, it's very likely they will never see each other again, just like the death make two people parted. 生离死别. So it's hardly for today's people to have the same idea or same feelings as the Asian people, but in that time, that's the situation. So the poet Han Yu thought this time he will never come back again. I will talk about the second relationship, this poem, with today's Xi'an city, or the old Chang'an city. So with the name his grand cousin Han Xiang, and if I've been to Xi'an, you know there is a small temple, Taoist temple, so-called 箱子庙, and there's a very famous place called 箱子庙门, the gate of the 箱子 temple. So 箱子 made me aroused me a lot of curiosity, so I do a little bit dig out and find out that that temple was for the one of the 8 immortals, that the 8 immortals belongs to the Taoisms, and basically these 8 figures is the real person in the Tang dynasty or Song dynasty, mostly in Tang dynasty, and one of the 8 immortals, Han Xiangzi, the original figures is from the grand cousin of Han Yu, or the Han Xiang here, and that's because Han Yu is against very strongly for the Buddhism as well as to the Taoism, and the Taoism people use his grand cousin to neutralize the impact that Han Yu want against the Taoism, and he made his grand cousin finally is to be one of the 8 immortals in the Taoism. So if I have the chance to go to Xi'an, you can visit this Han Xiangzi Miao. It's just inside the south gate of Xi'an city. And also, if you have an interest on the Taoism, you can go to the 8 immortal temples in the outside of the east gate of Xi'an. So that's Taoism, the most prestigious religion in the Tang dynasty, because the emperor of Tang adores Taoism. Okay, that's for today. The very famous and very straightforward writer and poem, 雪拥蓝关马不前, very beautiful name, 蓝关. Okay, that's for today. Bye bye.